We start this afternoon with breaking news. Authorities are investigating after someone apparently shot a horse in Ottertail County. Sheriff's officials say a horse owner in rural Earhart called them about one of their horses that had been shot and killed. Deputies located the animal in a pasture with what appeared to be a single gunshot wound. Anyone with information is urged to contact the sheriff's office at 218-998-8555. We have new information on a rollover crash that happened on Fargo's busy 13th Avenue. The crash happened last night, just after 11, in the 1400 block of 13th Avenue South. Witnesses told police the vehicle was speeding on 13th Avenue just before hitting a snowbank, going airborne and striking a tree. Authorities identified the driver of the vehicle as 18-year-old Noah Jamison of West Fargo. Jamison had to be cut out of the smashed vehicle. He suffered just minor injuries. He is facing charges for reckless endangerment and distracted driving. And when we take a peek outside our Valley News Live studios, the Skycam shows some dreary conditions stuck under the fog, but pretty nice temperatures. Let's check in with meteorologist Summer Schnellbach to see what we can expect as the day goes on.
Yeah, Lisa, things are looking a little bit gray and gloomy as we head into our Friday afternoon. And we are still seeing the fog hang around some of the region as well. Here's a look at our Valley Skycam facing west along I-94, and you can see some of that fog out on the horizon. 5 miles is the visibility here in the Fargo-Moorhead Metro. 7 miles in Fergus Falls, down to 3 in Alexandria, 1 mile in Oaks, 2 miles up in Langdon, and less than a mile up towards Devil's Lake. On satellite and radar, clouds have really extended and are consuming the majority of our region. There have been a few flurries and even some spotty freezing drizzle reports across southeastern North Dakota this afternoon. Temperatures are mild, 21 in Fargo and Grand Forks, upper teens throughout much of Minnesota. Shifting gears for a bit, the National Weather Service has put out their spring flood outlook. This was just issued yesterday, and they are indicating below normal runoff is expected, but that hinders on how much precipitation and moisture we receive for the second half of our winter and into the early spring. Lisa, I'll be talking about not one but 2 chances for some upcoming precip in just a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Summer. A scare at a South Fargo apartment building overnight. People reported flames coming from a deck in the 4700 block of Timber Parkway just before midnight. Firefighters put the fire out quickly. Luckily, no one was hurt. Damage looks to be contained to that one unit. A trial for one of the former officers charged in the death of George Floyd could possibly be delayed. Right now, jury selection for the trial of Derek Chauvin is set to begin March 8th. But late yesterday, prosecutors filed an appeal to the Minnesota Court of Appeals asking for the Chauvin trial to be delayed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The prosecutor is also asking the appeals court to overturn the decision to try Chauvin and the 3 other officers separately. Chauvin is the officer seen on camera with his knee on George Floyd's neck. Prosecutors continued the COVID argument that they made earlier this month in an affidavit from U of M infectious disease expert Michael Osterholm. In that affidavit, Osterholm says holding a trial in March of 2021 will be particularly dangerous because the new, more contagious variant of the coronavirus will likely be present at the time. Joe Tamburino is a criminal defense attorney not affiliated with the case, but skeptical about whether this appeal could succeed.
By arguing COVID, the state is also basically saying that the court has to take consideration of factors outside of the courtroom that have nothing to do with the trial. Again, that's highly unusual. You never see that kind of an argument when the state is trying to appeal a pretrial order.
Chauvin's attorney has argued for delays in the trial, citing issues with the prosecution's handling of exhibits. The judge had denied those motions. We may know as soon as next week whether the Minnesota Court of Appeals will accept the appeal. A new strain of the coronavirus in the U.S. could be partially resistant to existing vaccines. 2 people in South Carolina tested positive for the variant, which was first discovered in South Africa. That makes 29 states now where new strains of the virus have been detected. Mullet Lange reports from New York.
The need to vaccinate as many Americans as possible is more urgent than ever as the variant of COVID-19 first identified in South Africa has now been found in the U.S. It was detected in 2 people from South Carolina from separate parts of the state.
There is no known travel history and there is no known connection between the 2 cases.
With highly contagious variants reported in at least 28 other states, officials should think carefully before relaxing COVID restrictions, warns Dr. Ashish Jha.
By mid to late March, these variants to be quite common and dominant in the United States. We could see huge spikes in cases, large spikes in hospitalizations and deaths.
And the slow vaccination process could make things worse.
The longer we take, the more there are going to be opportunities for variants that could become even more dangerous, more lethal, more contagious, or just escape our vaccines altogether.
So far, the currently authorized slate of vaccines remain effective on all known strains, though preliminary findings suggest they may offer reduced protection against the variant originally detected in South Africa. But the work to understand these new strains and their interactions with existing treatments is well underway. Earlier this month, we visited Dr. Dan Baru, the director of the Center for Virology and Vaccine Research in Boston.
If the vaccine is not as effective on the new variant, what then?
Well, fortunately, the first two vaccines that we have here in the United States have proven to be highly, highly effective. In the worst case scenario, then vaccines might need to be updated.
And companies have already started working on those updates. Both Moderna and Pfizer have started developing booster shots for the South African variant of the virus. Mola Lengi, CBS News, Queens, New York.
The nation may be one step closer to getting a third coronavirus vaccine. Johnson & Johnson says data from a late-stage trial shows that its single-dose vaccine works. The vaccine was found to be 72% effective here in the U.S. at preventing moderate and severe disease 28 days after vaccination. However, it was only 57% effective in South Africa, where nearly all of the infections were from this new highly infectious variant. Johnson & Johnson says they do plan to file for an emergency use authorization with the FDA as early as next week. If you're looking to stay on top of the latest vaccine information, check out our new Vnl Vaccine Tracker. Just open your phone's camera and point it at the QR code on your screen. Then tap the link that pops up. We'll keep the tracker up in the bottom corner of your screen for the next few minutes. North Dakota lawmakers are trying to honor first responders who die in the line of duty by protecting their family members and extending their health benefits. A new bill being discussed would allow surviving spouses and dependent children of peace officers, patrolmen, correctional officers, and firefighters to continue receiving health benefits. The bill was introduced by Representative Zachary Ista of Grand Forks, whose community suffered the loss of police officer Cody Holte in May of last year. In our consumer alert, Robinhood has lifted some restrictions on the highly volatile stocks, but is implementing new restrictions on cryptocurrencies. Users started reporting early this morning that the trading app stopped instant deposits for crypto purchases. They could only buy the currencies with funds already deposited into their accounts. Transfers can take up to 5 business days to clear. According to Robinhood. In a statement to CNBC, a Robinhood spokesperson said, due to extraordinary market conditions, we've temporarily turned off instant buying power for cryptocurrency. American Airlines has released the company's fourth quarter report, ending 2020 with losses in the billions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The airline, based out of Fort Worth, Texas, lost $2.2 billion in the fourth quarter, as revenue fell by almost 2/3 compared to the same period in 2019. Overall, it was a distressing year for the airline group, losing $8.9 billion after earning nearly $1.7 billion the year before. Coming up on your news at noon, we're taking a look at how COVID is changing the world of home design. But next, we're checking out your Friday forecast, and it is a foggy afternoon rather, kind of dreary out there too. We'll find out what we can expect as we move into the weekend.